Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. Thank you for coming.
Okay, so the entire foundation of this book, the whole thing, rests on one single crucial distinction. It argues that to even begin to understand this hidden history, you have to realize we're not just talking about one kind of God, we're talking about two, and they are fundamentally different kinds of beings. On one hand, you've got the true creator of the universe. Now, this isn't some guy on a throne in the sky. It's an all-encompassing, ever-present force that is creation itself. It can't get jealous or angry or go to war. But then you have the biblical gods, right? Like Yahweh and Jehovah. The book describes them as physical, flawed, and kind of limited beings who are always demanding proof of loyalty and honestly show some very human-like emotions.
I am your host to the Soul and the Body Show, Curt Williams. I am a sage, a guru, and a spiritualist. I have a very special show for you today because I will be critiquing the great mind of Neil deGrasse Tyson, the physicist. Mr. deGrasse, or anyone I select, and critique and watch what they say, and I will comment on what they say. Perhaps one day I'll even be able to get enough of their attention so I can talk to them in person. But for now, we'll do the best we can. And like I said, by the time we finish this show, he will be an atheist no longer. So, from a show with Vlad TV or a couple of other ones, and just to see what he's talking about, and then I'll comment on this.
Well, in 2014, you did an interview, and they asked you, what do you think about God? And you said, I remain unconvinced by any claims anyone has ever made about the existence or the power of a divine force operating in the universe. Right?
I find that very odd, even coming from an astrophysicist. The reason I say that, when he says he finds no evidence, well, I think the universe is evidence. See, this is where we get confused. We start thinking that God is something that it is not. And by the time we finish here, we will really clarify exactly what that is. But from my standpoint as a spiritualist, God is the universe. You cannot deny the fact that the universe exists. So to say that the God does not exist, it says the universe does not exist.
Yeah, I would have said something like that for sure.
Right, and since then.
By the way, just to be clear,
Yeah.
What's probably missing from your extracted quote is the setup for that, which would be: is there a particular God you have in mind that you want me to comment on?
Okay, I missed that.
Because if you go online and in a Google search you type God's worshipped by humans. There's a tally of all the gods ever worshipped by humans in the history of civilization, and it just goes screen after screen after screen after screen. So when you say, do you believe in God? Which God? Is it Zeus? Is it Poseidon? Is it the Jewish God? Is it the Christian God? Because the Jewish God from the Old Testament is filled with wrath, okay? All right, and smoting and smiting and whatever the past tense verb is. And so, and the New Testament, God is kinder, all right?
A little nicer, yeah.
Yeah, all right, so you look at all of this and say, is that the God you want me to comment on? Or is there some other God? Typically, it's the Judeo-Christian blend there. In that context, I would say in my studies of the universe, I value evidence, and I don't see evidence for any kind of active intelligence.
Okay. Well, what he started to describe really were human constructs of God deities. This is where we have to be very clear about the subject we are talking about. I am talking to an astrophysicist about God, and he's talking about literature. Literally. Well, he and I should be able to come to a conclusion and agree very quickly. Because I will tell you up front, I am not talking about the literature's interpretation of what a God is supposed to be. That is a belief system. It's a religion, which means it is not real. The cosmos is real. We're dealing with facts here. We're not dealing with unrealistic versions of mankind's story of a God deity. We are talking about creation. I am talking about creation itself. When I say God, I mean the creator of the universe, the same universe which you study. So if you are studying something and it doesn't exist, well, then that doesn't make any sense. The mere fact that you are studying exactly what I'm talking about is you beyond believe in it, you know there's a cosmos. The cosmos is a consciousness. God is a consciousness. It's an information system that does one thing. It creates. Well, it does a lot of things. But one of the things that it does very well is it creates. And it creates things. This is what it's shaped like. For instance, if you go outside in the star-spangled night and you look above, you're looking at God from the inside out. We are a part of God within God. So we cannot exist outside of God. For you to say that God does not exist, it just means you have a misinterpretation of what God is. If God didn't exist, we wouldn't exist. We could not exist without it, and it could not exist. Yeah, it could exist without us.
Intelligence or power over anything.
Yeah,
But if you had it, then show it to me. I'm all in.
Okay.
Well, I mean, you said you don't like to be labeled an atheist, more agnostic.
Yeah.
And the definition of agnostic is a person who believes that nothing is known or can be known of the existence or nature of God.
Yeah, I'm not.
Or of anything.
Okay. So he says he needs evidence. He says that nothing is known or nothing can be known. Well, that's a misconception in and of itself. Because when you say nothing can be known, that's just a misstatement. How do you know it cannot be known? You know, because you cannot instantly say that something cannot be known. Now, it may never be known to you. However, you cannot say it cannot be known. Now, agnostic simply means you just really don't have an idea of what it is. But that's not agnosticism's fault, and it's not the universe's fault that you don't have an idea of what it is. It just simply means you may someday know, or you may never know, but it doesn't mean it cannot be known. Let me be clear. Agnosticism does not state that it can't be known. It just states that it doesn't have to be known at this particular time, at least by you. Because I know, I can tell you what God is, and I'm not atheistic about it. I'm not agnostic about it. Well, if I'm going to talk about evidence, let us first make sure we stay away from belief systems. We only deal with fact systems that we know are facts. One of the main principles of the Creator is science itself. Science didn't create science, and scientists did not create science, but something did. Science is a balance of reasoning where things reckon themselves and they match. Well, they are not. Science proves, especially in mathematics, proves there's not a randomness to it. It has to be some type of sequential, some type of fitting in order for math to work. So math didn't create itself. Scientists study math, they learn science, but they didn't create science. So what we're talking about when we talk about God, or when I do, We are talking about the creator of the science that you study. It's the same as me asking, is your study fake? No, your study is real.
Roman numerals, you cannot represent zero with Roman numerals. Interestingly, I don't know if you ever thought of that.
Yeah.
There's no zero there. So it's not just that zero got invented afterwards. It's that the relationship between the day of the year and where Earth is in its orbit was more precisely defined, or rather, where the sun is in its orbit around Earth. We were still largely, among many, we were geocentric at the time. But it doesn't matter if you're accounting for time frames. Point is, if they put in the hard work, I'm going to respect that. And I'm not going to sweep that under the rug. My favorite musical on Broadway, which I saw in real time because that's how old I am, was Jesus Christ Superstar. I love it. I listen to that every Easter and then some. Okay, I love culture as a binding force of civilization. They're atheist Jews, ardent atheist Jews who still celebrate a Passover Seder.
I'm an atheist Jew.
Yeah, atheist Jew, right. And you still leave the empty seat for Elijah and unlock the door. By the way, if someone did walk through the door, you'd probably shoot him. Okay, that seems to be what you can do these days. But you're not literally thinking that's going to happen. So there's a cultural exercise that you go through. So there's that. Also, I don't chase people down when they speak of their religious allegiances. I might ask them about it, but I'm not going to challenge them. I value the diversity of people's spiritual expression in this country where it is protected, and in the world, not every place where it continues to be protected or where it was ever protected.
So, the problem here seems to me that somewhere in time, somewhere in the structure of mankind's evolution, it seems to be almost ingrained into their DNA that a belief system has to begin and end what mankind tells us. These two individuals here are acting like the only choices they have is the gods that are in the Bibles, in literature, or nothing. With all of these possibilities in between, they seem to think that it is the biblical gods or the Greek gods, or it is nothing. What I'm trying to say here is, in this so-called nothing, the possibilities are endless. You can't be an atheist because an atheist cannot exist, because an atheist wouldn't be alive to talk about it. The fact that you can speak against it means you exist, and unless you create it yourself, which I know you did not, means that something else had to do it. So either you are an illusion that doesn't exist, a dream from an undreamer, or something created you. This either or, it has to be the biblical gods or nothing, is what's getting everybody confused, including you, Mr. Tyson. God is science. You are a scientist. You would have nothing to study if there wasn't a God. You spent all this time studying God. You're just not studying the Bible. You're studying God in a more correct way than the biblicists do. Because what they're studying are God stories, are God myths. What you are studying is actual God itself, actual creation itself, actual physical science itself. You are studying it. You don't realize it, sir, but you are as much of a minister of God than a biblicist is. Matter of fact, you're more correct because, like I said, they are trying to convince people of stories about something that does not exist. Whereas you are studying something that actually does. You just don't seem to realize what you're studying is God.
So I once said in my Facebook post, I had a friend going up on the shuttle to fix the Hubble telescope, one of the servicing missions. And I said, my friend is going up, fix the Hubble, great. Godspeed, STS, I forgot the number. STS is how they numbered the shuttle missions, but I forgot the specific number. I said, Godspeed. What did someone say right after that? Godspeed, I thought you were an atheist. Here's my point. If my behavior triggers people to say, I thought you were an atheist, then I'm not an atheist. Because words in the dictionary.
Okay. And so we're only talking about the opinion of narrow-minded people. Narrow-minded people are trying to put you into a group, but you are not in a group. You are just...
Because words in the dictionary, words are not defined by the dictionary. They're described in a manner that reflects how words come into use. Otherwise, we'd still be speaking like Chaucer.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, Geoffrey Chaucer. He was a poet. Yeah.
So atheist today comes with expectations of what you're going to say and do. And since I don't fulfill that, we need another word for me.
Yes. We need another word for you. And that word is a person who is looking in the wrong place for God. You're looking in books. Stay out of the books about God, sir. Stay out of the books. If you want to know about God the way I know about God, then you have to look within. I know there's a creator because there are words like clairvoyant and all that. I don't believe in that in particular, simply because the creator as a spirit can communicate with you in any kind of way it wants to. It can communicate with you as a world that doesn't really exist. We may just be in some kind of form of a matrix that doesn't really exist. It can show up as this. This whole thing could be just for a visionary effect. What I'm saying is the creator can communicate in all ways, and I can the communication I have with the creator has convinced me that he's telling me stuff that I'm not supposed to know. I'm not supposed to know what happens tomorrow, but I could find out. I don't have to know where things that I have ways of finding out. I just have to ask. Whatever I ask my spirit, it will tell me if it wants me to know. That's the key. It won't tell you what it doesn't want you to know because it knows the repercussions that could happen after it reveals these things. After it reveals it, it could get you into trouble. So he knows not to tell you things that will get you into, but he will tell you things that will get you into what he's okay with you.
I don't know.
And
agnostic was like, maybe that.
Yeah. I think I'm probably more agnostic as well. Listen, I have Christian people in my family, and I totally respect their point of view. You know, I'll say words like God willing. People are like, I thought you didn't believe in God.
Well, that's my point.
It's a whole kind of clusterfuck of ideas. You know.
Oh, by the way, as a scientist, if you are religious and you say something that is patently, objectively false, I will tell you. I'm not going to respect your views if they're objectively false. As I owe that to your intellect to explain to you what is objectively true in the face of what you think is true, want to be true, or wish for what is true.
Okay, so we have to make sure.
So when you say the Christian, I respect it, I don't respect, that's not the operative word for me. I I respect your freedom to think whatever you want. But if you're going to make a decision based on something that's objectively false, that emanates from your belief system, no matter what it is, I'm obligated, as an educator, I say, that's not going to work. Or here's why it's not going to work. Well, you're advising someone else who doesn't know better. And that's not in their best interest. Yeah, I'm going to say that.
Mr. DeGrasse, I heard you one time discussing about the catastrophes that go on in the world. Well, you spoke about the tsunamis who destroy people and towns and things like that. I remember the saddest thing I ever heard one time was when a tsunami struck an island, and the great baseball announcer Vince Scully was talking, and he mentioned it in one of his broadcasts of a Dodger game, and he said that all the schools on the island are closed because there are no more children. And the thing about it is, imagine what that feels like. Imagine what it feels like to lose all of the children on an island. Well, let me tell you why all those children on that island passed away that day. They passed away because the creator of the universe, which is an information system, which is a system of knowledge that knows almost everything except one thing. Now, we know that the universe is, at least I know that the universe is based on consciousness, and that this universe is expanding. One of the reasons why the universe is expanding is because the Creator is expanding. It's expanding by its own basic knowledge of events. Let me put it to you this way. The Creator itself is experiencing consciousness through all the things that are available to it in this universe. In order for the Creator to experience consciousness, it has to see things unfold. Like, for instance, a tsunami that kills all the children. The reason something like that occurs is because the Creator itself is trying to see what it's like to experience all of that. He's trying to experience all the things that you see going on is the Creator of the universe experiencing what it's like to be a part of what seems like the negative and what seems to the positive. The positive is not necessarily a negative thing to the Creator when life never ends and everything kind of develops for the how can I put this? From the mind of the Creator, nothing really dies. All it does is evolve. It changes what it is. It changes its consciousness to conform to something else. But it never dies. So from a Creator standpoint, you never die. Nothing does. So what God is doing is it's witnessing and experiencing consciousness through all the variety of mechanisms that it has available to it on this earth. I will never know what it looks like or feels like to lose 20 children on an island, but guess who does now? The Creator does. The Creator just realized and just experienced losing all these children. Now, it's going to lose all kinds of things, and it's going to gain all kinds of things. And this is how this information system expands. Now, what's very interesting here is that universe, galaxies are an information system. You mentioned sometime earlier about give me the proof, like you've never had the proof. But you have to be able to register the proof. What I mean by that is you can't just let the proof go in one ear and out the other just because you're not feeling it or something. I'm going to give you some proof right now, but you're going to have to let it soak in and marinate. I was told by, it wasn't Edgar Casey, it was, well, I'll think of it. But anyway, he said that there are 7 octillion molecules in the human body. Now, 7 octillion, meaning 7 with 24 zeros. And so this is how many molecules are in the human body. I describe the spirit of a human body being, one of those molecules. Just one of those molecules out of all 7 octillion of them is the spirit of the Creator. That's our connection to the Spirit, that one little molecule. Now, imagine knowing that all of these molecules are left within this one system. And what about the molecules out there? What about the fact that the Creator knows where every molecule is at all times? Not only does He know where every molecule is, it knows where every molecule is going to be. Imagine a system like that. What I'm calling God, Neil deGrasse Tyson, is a thing that can manage that. So basically, I don't think it's a matter of you not believing in God. It's probably more of a matter of you not being able to conceive the complexity of it. Now, I saw something with you on it a couple of years ago, and like I said, the Creator knows where every molecule is and where every molecule is going to be. Now, you want to know how He does that? Well, it's simply this. The universal principle of correspondence, which states as above, so below. What that means is the same way things work down here is the same way things work up there. Nothing has ever been created by mankind that has not already been perfected by the Creator. For example, before there were the Wright brothers taking their first solo flight, 250 million years before that was a pterodactyl. And what I'm saying is space flight, for instance. Well, you have comets flying all throughout the galaxies. Everything has already been perfected. Mankind is just slowly catching up with each one of these things. One of the things I'm trying to explain to you is, how could God possibly know where every molecule is and where every molecule is going to be? Well, He knows where every molecule is going to be simply because He is not restricted to time. So if you eliminate time from the equation, that solves that. If you want to know how He's able to map out and know where they are, well, it's going to take a computer system. It's going to take a massive computer system. Well, if we can make computers as advanced as we have in the last 50 years, what do you think God could do over a period of billions? So I saw this, and take a look here.
March
7th.
Well, partly it's taken to these very strange images that are behind your head right now. These are pictures of equations. I've been, for the last 15 years, trying to answer the kinds of questions that my colleagues have been raising. And what I've come to understand is that there are these incredible pictures that contain all the information of a set of equations that are related to string theory. And it's even more bizarre than that, because when you then try to understand these pictures, you find out that buried in them are computer codes just like the type that you find in a browser when you go surf the web. And so I'm left with the puzzle of trying to figure out whether I live in the Matrix or not.
Wait, you're blowing my mind at this moment. So you're saying, are you...
Well, what he is saying is exactly what I just got through saying. Within the fabric of the universe, they found computer codes. Now, these are the same computer codes that they use in browsers. Like I said, as above, so below. So whatever we discover here has already been perfected by the Creator. And yes, this is how he keeps up. It keeps up. I don't want to call it a he, because he is not a good enough word for it. It is the way this information system keeps up with everything and keeps up with where everything is and where everything is going to be.
Saying your attempt to understand the fundamental operations of nature leads you to a set of equations that are indistinguishable from the equations that drive search engines and browsers on our computers.
That is correct. So,
wait, I have to just be silent for a minute here. So you're saying as you dig deeper, you find computer code writ in the fabric of the cosmos.
Into the equations that we want to use to describe the cosmos, yes.
Computer code.
Computer code, strings of bits of ones and zeros.
It's not just sort of resembles computer code, you're saying it is computer code.
It's not even just is computer code, it's a special kind of computer code that was invented by a scientist named Claude Shannon in the 1940s. That's what we find very, very deeply inside the equations that occur in strings.
This is what I'm saying. Claude Shannon didn't invent. Claude Shannon discovered or realized something that the Creator had already done. I believe he said he invented. Let me see let me get this. Did he say invented?
We find very, very deeply inside the equations that occur in string theory. And in general, a scientist named Claude Shannon in the 1940s, that's what we find very, very deeply inside. It's a special kind of computer code that was invented by a...
Okay. He said invented. How did he invent something that already existed in the universe, in the cosmos? This is what I'm saying. It's like the Wright brothers didn't invent flight. Not when they were birds. So Claude Shannon didn't invent these error-correcting codes. They were already written into the fabric. He just realized them. This is your proof of a God. If scientists can only mimic what nature and what God has already done, there is your proof. Because if God doesn't exist, then science doesn't exist.
Scientist named Claude Shannon in the 1940s. That's what we find very, very deeply inside the equations that occur in string theory and in general in systems that we can say are supersymmetric.
Okay. Time to go home, I think. Where are we going to go? So are you saying we are all just, there's some entity that programs?
They dictate that there are certain things that are actually strings of ones and zeros. That's just digital data. But it's not just random ones and zeros. As I mentioned earlier, let me talk about something that you probably do every day, but I don't know if you're a computer scientist or not. Most of us sit at our...
Sounds that kind of fluency, I say.
Okay, well, most of us sit at our computer screens and we type on the keyboards, and we then send these, if we're using a browser, we're sending strings of ones and zeros elsewhere. But on the other hand, in the transmission process, there's always some fluctuations. So 0 that you type here because of static in line might be read as a 1 at the other end and vice versa. And so in fact, when you sit and type on the keyboard, your computer's doing something behind your back. Namely, it throws in a bunch of extra ones and zeros, and these things are called error correcting codes, so that the computer at the other end can look at the whole collection of what you typed plus what was sent and figure out if there were bits that were being flipped back and forth. And that's how you get accurate transmission of digital data. Among the codes that are used for this purpose are a special class of codes that are called block linear self-dual error correcting codes. They were first, in fact, the Shannon extended checksum code is an example of one of these things. These are the codes that we find buried in the equations. Not just any code, but these self-dual error correcting block codes is quite remarkable for anyone that I've talked to. We have no idea what these things are doing there.
I can tell you what they're doing there. What they're doing there is basically saying, if this world goes to hell in a handbag, it will correct itself. That's what it's saying. If we were to destroy ourselves, it will reboot. Is exactly what it's saying. This system cannot be destroyed by the creation itself. The creation cannot destroy the creator. That's like Mickey Mouse destroying Walt Disney. So there's nothing we can do as human beings to destroy the cosmos, to destroy the creation that we are a part of. These error correcting codes are an example how the creator is able to if Mr. Tyson, what this is what makes you agnostic. What makes you agnostic is you can't figure out how the hell did this happen? How did these codes get into the something that's written into the fabric of the universe? That's where your agnosticism lies. It lies within the science. You're not agnostic towards God, you're agnostic towards science. And so if you can't figure out how something happened in science, then you're not going to figure out the creator. But you still believe in science. I'm only saying you should believe in something that does exist. I'm not saying you're supposed to understand it. You're never going to outlearn the creator. You're never going to catch up with the creator. So basically, the fact that there is a fabric, the fact that there is a design here, I have never seen anything expressed so well as a design than what I'm first hearing, from Claude Shannon. I mean, this is an example of something that's not random. It is a design built into the computer aspect of this matrix. Now, I don't know if it's I know it's a light matrix. I don't know if it's a hologram or not. It is a hologram, I believe that, but it's a solid state hologram. This is not something that you can put your hand through. This is solid state. This is where molecules come together very tightly. But yet still, it would be considered a hologram from a molecular standpoint. It's not really a table until it is cut and formed into a table, but it's a random amount of molecules that have been collected. So the bottom line is, if you're atheistic towards God, then you're also atheistic towards science, because you know as much about God as you do about science, but you still believe in science. You still know science is real. Well, science is the creator. There is your proof. I mean, there's no better proof than to know that what it is that you are studying is in fact God.
Any literature out?
I'm sorry?
I got to ask you something. Your discoveries of the sort of error correcting code within the laws of physics themselves at the depths that you're researching them what I wonder is, we live in the age of IT, of information technology, so we all have a certain fluency. So it's in our brains to think that way at some level. Could it be that, you know how the saying goes, if you're a hammer, then all your problems look like nails? and you solve them by hitting them. If now we are in an IT revolution and you're finding IT solutions to your problems, maybe it's just the fad of the moment, and you're forcing a solution that is either not real or there's a better one awaiting in a revolution that is yet to occur.
Sure. So the last time I was here, I actually misspoke. I used the name of Shannon when I meant Hamming code instead. So first, let me correct that for this wonderful audience.
Error correction in action.
That's right. Error correction in action. Absolutely. But in our work, it's first of all, we don't know that it's the physics of our universe. There is a large experiment underway that Lisa knows a lot about in Geneva because she has written papers about possible outcomes in these observations.
Lisa, are you flying to Geneva tomorrow?
I am, but not for that.
Not for that, okay.
So the Large Hadron Collider is going to explore more of the structure of our universe. So first, the mathematics that I have done will only become physics or relevant to nature when the LHC or some other observational device says the idea of supersymmetry is correct. Then it will kick in. So that's a big if. There are lots of physicists who don't believe the universe will be supersymmetric, in which case all I've done is an interesting mathematical fairy tale.
So supersymmetric proposes a whole other regime of particles that are counterparts to the particles we've come to know and love?
Correct.
Okay, and they're yet to be discovered, but they could be describing a whole other parallel reality awaiting our discovery.
But even that, I mean, I just want to clarify. We may or may not find evidence at the Large Hadron Collider, which is what's being discussed. But that doesn't even mean that supersymmetry doesn't exist. It means that we can't find the evidence at the scales that we can prove.
Okay, so I hope we accomplish something here. All I'm trying to do is convince science that science is a religion. Science is a belief system until you discover something real, and it's no longer a belief system, it is a fact system. What I'm trying to get Neil deGrasse Tyson to understand is to not look for God in the church. Do not look for God in religion, in the sanctuary. You will find God in your research. You will find God in your knowledge. God and you are the same thing. So thank you guys for coming. Please subscribe, and we're going to learn some things here. Mr. Tyson, try not to get upset with me. I'm just trying to be a good spiritualist, but I'm not trying to hurt anybody. So thank you guys for coming, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Let's go to Curt in Pasadena, California. Welcome to the program. Hi, Curt.
Hello. Thank you guys for having me.
Yes, sir.
Well, I am a spiritualist, which means my spirit talks to me. And we go back and forth, and we've been going back and forth since I was a child. And it will answer any question that I have for it. Like you, George, you always ask, what is deja vu? I can explain that to you, as well as the Big Bang. Yeah.
Tell me about the Big Bang, Curt.
Well, that's kind of long. I'd rather do deja vu first.
Okay.
Deja vu is simple.
We'll do the Big Bang during an open line Friday one night.
Thank you. So anyway, the deja vu, what that is since we live in linear time, there is no such thing as something happening and you saw it before. So when you think you've seen something, you could not have seen it because it could not have happened yet. However, we do know these things happen. The reason it happens is because your spirit lives in a place like this hyperspace where the past, present, and future is the same. It knows what's going to happen, so all you're doing is catching up to what your spirit has already seen. Yeah. Right, I call that panoramic time. It's like your mind is outside of time and it can see all of time from this higher perspective.
Subscribe and push the like button.